Hello, this is Jeff Robertson with Penton Audio USA, and this video is a quick tutorial on how to get your PSS-AS and your Ppm-As microphone paging stations actually configured and connected and plugged in to your IDA8 system, and then you'll be ready to program your buttons and map all the network paging stuff. So this video just shows you how to actually bring them into your design, wire them in, and plug them up so they show up in your device management menu, so then you could go in and do all the settings, which will be detailed in follow-up videos. Alright, to get started, I've got my T Studio, and I'm already connected up to my demo IDA8 system, and you can see I got a controller and a slave here, and there's no remotes or anything. I'll go into the design, and you'll see there is nothing there. Go back to the devices menu, and what we want to do first is bring our remotes in. What you will notice on the controller here is that there are 4 of these green input nodes, PDC 1 through 4, and on my slave unit there's PDCs 1 and 2. These are where your 485 remotes actually plug in and get power and data. So I know that I have a PSS-AS console, that's the touchscreen microphone console, and I've wired that to my PDC port number 1 on my controller. I have a Ppm-As, which is the programmable button microphone station, and I've got that wired into my PDC port number 2 on my controller. So what I want to do is go to my devices tab up here, go to remotes, and I will drag my PSS-AS console in here, and there's the picture with it, and this is my RS-485 data node, and I want to wire this right into my PDC port number 1 on my controller, because that's where I physically wired that unit. Now I will go up here and get my Ppm-As console, click and drag it into my design as well, and I will grab the green RS-485 data and power, and I will wire that into the PDC port number 2. You do not need to worry about the number 1 audio that you see here. That's only if you use the Ppm-As with the ECS or LAP DSPs. The IDA8 has the audio and data and power all in the same PDC port. Once we have done this, the next thing that we need to do is configure the RS-485 ports. If all you're using are any of the other remote controls, or you're using Ppm-As stuff, you do not need to worry about it, because they default to what we call the normal status. If you have a PSS-AS remote in any of the ports, you need to tell the port that it's looking for a PSS-AS, and it reacts differently. So what we will do is we will highlight our controller. We will go over here to the Systems tab and go to Machine Setting. Select the Machine Setting option, and right down here, right towards the bottom, you'll see it says RS-485 Protocol. Click on that, and as you can see, I've already set up my device port number 1 for PSS or some of the other remotes that we're not using right here. If I wanted to change any port, all I do is just highlight it, and you either got PSS or normal. So if PSS, change it to that, everything else leave as normal. Once you do that, go ahead and click right, and that saves that to the unit, and then we can go ahead and close that out. So once we have done this, we have put these units in there, we've wired them, we configured the RS-485 ports. As you can see, they don't show up down here in the menu, and that is because we have not gone into the controller and told it to actually go out and find all the remotes. So once they're connected, we will go over here to the Systems tab again, and you will see where it says Remote Search. Let's click on that, and it's all clear. There's my IDA8C, there's my IDA8S, and these are the ports right here. So what you want to do is just go ahead and say Search, and this will take a little bit, because it's going to search every one of the PDC page ports on every one of the units in the system. And as you can see, it's going to go ahead and list all the units that it finds. We will wait till it completes its search. Good. Now we're done. And I can see here on my IDA8C, port 1 is my PSS console. There's the version of firmware and the serial number. And on port number 2, it says it lists right here, the IDA8C, there's the Ppm-As, and there's its version of firmware and its serial number as well. If there was a conflict with the version of firmware, it would be highlighted in red, and you would not be able to compile and store, as it would give you a fault or an error. And at that point, all you have to do is click on Remote Update, which I'll show you here. And all I have to do is select which one that I wanted to actually update up here, and then highlight the one that I wanted to update, and then we could go from there. But they're all in the good firmware, so we don't need to do any of that. So once I've verified I got all the remotes I'm on here, if you do not see it in the list, this is where you got to double check your wiring and connections to make sure everything's communicating. Just remember, with the Ppm-As, you do have to have the junction box, because that does the pinout breakouts. So Cat5 4-pair or Cat5e 4-pair from the PDC port to the junction box, and then the supplied 5-pair jumper from the PPM to the supplied junction box that you would need, and then it should power up fine. So once this is done, we click plug in. All right, and now basically that tells the IDA8Cs and all the other ones that I want to use these remotes, and now that is saved in their system. I do not see it at the bottom, so what we want to do is go in here, we will compile. There we go, and we will go store. And as you can see here, once I've done a complete store, we'll go ahead and say turn on the audio. I'll stay offline, close this. As you can see now, under the demo IDA8C, it's actually showing me my PSS-AS is down here. It's on channel 1, which is my PDC port, and it's the first device on that port, because you can daisy chain multiple devices on a port. And my Ppm-As is right here. There's the ID or serial number, and it's on port 2, and it's the first device on that port. So that's a quick tutorial on how to set up your PSS-AS and your Ppm-As paging consoles with your IDA8, at least to get them wired and configured and mapped into your system. Please look for other videos on how to actually do the button and feature programming within the consoles themselves. If you have any other questions, you can download the manual or contact us at penton-usa.com. Thank you, and have a terrific day.